All right, welcome all you Facebookers. We are taking your questions here. We've got Chandler Crouch with us today, and we are tackling tax appraisals because a lot of you have gotten those in the mail here in the last week or so, or they're on the way. Some of you have decided not to open them yet. We heard from one guy who says they consider it to be a coiled snake, and so they don't want to go near it.
It's going to bite them.
It can be a tough time of year, especially here in North Texas, as we know, where growth has just gone through the roof. Here in the last several years, the property valuations have been just rising exponentially, and of course that has an impact on your property taxes. And so Chandler, for those of you who don't know him, I'd be surprised that you don't, because we've done several stories with him here on WFAA in the past couple of years, because you're a realtor, you're in Tarrant County, and sometime back when, a couple of years ago, you became the guy who will fight property appraisals.
Yeah, I'm the guy. if you need free help with property taxes, then I don't know if I'm the guy that's raised my hand and said, I'll come my way and I'll help you.
And you brought this on yourself a couple of years ago, and it's just kind of grown since then, and you've been swamped by the number of requests coming in. What does that tell you, first of all?
Well, and that's kind of the reason why I went all in with it, is just, just kind of from a big picture perspective. I'm all about making a paycheck. I love making money because, it just helps with everything. The more money we make, more people we can help. However, more than anything, I want to be able to look back on my life and say I made a difference. And so whenever we started helping people for free doing this, we saw the enormity of it and just realized that it's a big issue and a lot of people need help. And so I just said, you know what? I'm going to forget about the money. I'm going to solve the problem. I want to make a difference. Let God, depend on God for taking care of me, and let's just help people. And it's just, when word got out, it's like, it's almost like we're giving money out for free. It seems like, so it's
been a wildfire. And to be clear here, you're not only not making money off this, I would imagine you're losing some money because so much of your bandwidth goes to handling this for the next month.
Yeah, I don't talk about that too much, but
because it hurts.
Yeah, it hurts. But really, it really comes down to values and perspective. It's like, well, what am I doing this for? I'm not doing it for a paycheck, and so I actually do believe that I'll probably end up making a ton of money because people learn that they can trust who we are, and we're in a long-term relationship business. We're not in it for a quick buck. So for sure, the first couple years we've done this, we've lost a good amount of money, but I don't look at it as a loss.
Right.
In the way we're losing, it's not like we're losing. It's just that I have to hire staff,
right,
and I have to pay for technology, and there are resources. It takes a process to do this. It's not free to do. As everybody knows, it's not the easiest system to navigate.
It is not.
But it's worth it because it's such a big deal. It means so much. The amount of money that people are losing, and the converse of that, the amount of money we're able to help people save, it's just worth it. So, just decided let's go all in, and it's been a good thing.
So he's doing it again, and we're going to give out the details of how you can get in contact with him here in just a moment. I will let you know that I'm not ignoring Chandler as we go through this. If I'm looking down at the screen here, we're actually trying to bring in some of your questions today as well, because we know that, Chandler, this is a vexing thing for so many people when you start talking about valuations and later on property taxes and so forth. As you said, it can be a difficult thing to navigate. We already have 93 comments. I'm already behind here.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it happens. I do want to tell you too that I've got a guy that we know of here in Dallas County who is also going to be doing this for free. Again, Chandler is handling all of that Tarrant County stuff and is getting inundated over there. We've got a guy here in Dallas County as well, just waiting on the way that he would prefer for you to contact him, because again, it's like a fire hose.
You do not, you know what? I was going to ask you for his contact info because I can give him some tips.
Okay.
And we were talking just for a moment before we started this about just how I'm able to handle the volume.
Yeah, how are you able to handle the volume?
It's all about having a system. Once you figure out the process, then once you get it organized, and that's the key, it's got to stay very organized. Then it's almost like a conveyor belt. You feed them in one side, and then it's assembly line process where you do the same steps for everybody at the same time, and then you go to the next step. And if you do it effectively, write a checklist for it. You can train people on it. You can write a computer program to help with the automated parts of it, and then once you get it ironed out, you can really scale.
So you're able to do it fairly easily that way, fairly painlessly, because you've done this, you're familiar with this. For most people who are navigating the system for the first time or maybe even the second time, there's a real learning curve that goes into this. And it can seem daunting when you think of all the things you've got to do to go down and fight your appraisal, regardless of which one of the counties you're in here. With no further ado, we should put it out there. If you're in Tarrant County and you're interested in fighting your appraisal, you don't know what to do, you think you need some help here, how do people reach you? You're doing it for free.
Yep.
We'll reiterate that. And so how do they reach you?
It's really simple. It's freetaxprotest.com.
I love when it's easy like that. freetaxprotest.com.
Yep.
Okay.
And I want to get this guy's information in Dallas County because I can have a way, I'll help him basically duplicate what I've done.
Okay.
And then we'll probably link to him on our website as well.
Okay.
And so if you're in, I'll just say that and we'll get connected after this.
And if you are a realtor or you're in this line of work or you know someone who is doing this in some of the other large counties here, maybe Denton County, Collin County for sure, even down to Ellis County and so forth, Kaufman County, let us know if there's somebody who's also doing this as a service, because we've just been getting so many questions from people saying, I need help, but I just don't think I can afford to go hire somebody and so on and so forth. Let's see here.
Well, hey, I know we need to get into some questions. I know because that's like what everybody wants to hear is they have questions they want answered. But can I mention what I was doing yesterday for just a minute?
Yeah.
Okay. So yesterday I was down in Austin trying to help. There's a bill that a state representative in my area, his name is Matt Krause. He drafted a bill to help with this issue. And one of the things in the bill is that it's going to mandate the state comptroller to maintain a list of realtors and appraisers and tax agents that are willing to help people for free.
Oh, nice.
And the reason is because I've experienced the same thing. So many people call, they want help, but I can't provide that help. And so I was collaborating with Matt Krause on this issue, and I said, hey, look, if we can get this into this bill, then people will get the help that they need. Because the appraisal district doesn't give advice.
Right.
So
they can't.
No, they can't.
Well, and so and so you went down to Austin. You testified, I guess, before the committee there, considering this. And what sort of reception would you say this is getting there in Austin?
They know it's a big issue. There's a big House bill. It's House Bill 2.
Right. It's really being pushed in this legislative session. I think they've heard from enough homeowners now saying it's breaking our backs here in this state. We've got to have some kind of relief. We've got to have some kind of remedy.
Yep. And they kind of allowed me in the back door yesterday. I got to talk to the staff and the people that are actually drafting the bill. And I mean, the consensus is this bill's going to get passed. Okay. And big things are going to happen. Big changes are going to happen. I mean, it's not going to make everybody happy. It never will, but there are going to be some big changes, and it's important because then they'll find more problems over the next year, and then they'll fix that. But it's good to know that the solution's on the way.
But conceivably, you could become part of this sort of network here in the state of realtors or others who are willing to help people protest their valuations for free, which is a huge thing. We have Kathy here who says, my house went up $200,000 in 5 years, almost doubled in value. Do you see that kind of a rise often, or is this an outlier?
It's not an outlier at all.
Wow.
It's insane. And that's the sort of thing where it's like, somebody needs to help these people. There's nothing you can do to prevent it. And honestly, if you're selling your house, you want to be able to sell your house for a good amount and cash the check. The unfortunate thing is, if Kathy put her house on the market, there's a good chance she couldn't sell for that. And it's because of some of the flaws that are part of the system. And we were talking a second ago about I figured out a way to systemize it, but I promise you, the same problems that affect everybody, I go through. It's the most maddening process ever when they make a decision. It's illogical, it's unfair, and they close that hearing and the decision's final. You can't do it. There is an appeal process, but I haven't ever gone through it. I think I've heard from people it's actually worth it to go through if you feel like you've been. It's not a just decision or whatever, but anyway.
But the fight is never ending then too, and I know that some of this legislation that's being considered down in Austin right now would provide some remedy there as well for as far as going through the protest process. I'm curious from you, how often do you see situations where you protest the appraisal and it works out in the homeowner's favor. Is it a common thing?
Absolutely. And gosh, dog, if I could just cause everybody to take 1 point home, it would be absolutely protest. Just protest. And it's usually, in Tarrant County, it's super simple. They've done a great job streamlining the process. In Dallas County, it's not bad. It's not bad either. I mean, no, let's just be real. It sucks. It's horrible.
Yeah, it's tough.
Hope I can say the word sucks.
Yeah, you can.
I just said it
We're on
twice.
Facebook. It's fine.
Yeah, anything goes.
Say it a third time, yeah.
But no, but it's worth it. It's worth it. And more times than not, you will get a reduction. Because my experience has been, contrary to public opinion, the people at the appraisal district actually want to give you a reduction. They're looking for a reason.
Really?
Yes.
Now, why is that? We would not assume that. Everybody thinks they're the big, bad, awful appraisal district.
Yes. And I'm not going to alleviate them from that title because I also agree with that. But when I'm talking to the people behind the counter, they want to help. It's just that they're shackled by, they've got to do a job. So they're not going to give advice and tell you how to get it lower. They're going to give you information about the process and that sort of thing, and then zip their lip because that's their job. Yeah. But behind the scenes, they want to help people just the same as anybody else. They've got a job to do, and they're just dealing with people walking into their office every day, totally mad. And so they've got a bad job. I mean, their job is hard. It really is. I'm not going to feel sorry for them, but that's the truth. So you just have to walk in knowing that. If you're nice to them and you take just a couple minutes to research the process a little bit, understand how to speak their language, get some intelligent questions to ask, and know how to, you've got to present it in a way that they can respond with. They need, and so bottom line is, they have to have factual data. So they have to have some kind of evidence to be able to justify that value, and they want to make you happy.
You can't just go in there and emotionally say you're killing me year after year and not provide something as a backup. I do want to look through some of your comments here because we're taking your questions today as well, because again we know that tax appraisals, or property appraisals I should say, they're separate things. Property appraisals are daunting for a lot of people. While I'm looking through some of the questions in here, can you talk a little bit about, from what you've seen, again, this is Chandler Crouch. He is a realtor. We'll just keep on saying this because we're going to have people joining us as we go here. He's a realtor in Tarrant County who has developed quite a reputation in recent years because he takes on this enormous task of fighting people's property appraisals in Tarrant County for free. And as we know, so many of you, your appraisals have gone through the roof in the past several years. Is there anything in your experience that you have seen over and over again that really helps someone if they can show it to the appraisal district? It really helps them to get it lowered. Is there one thing that really stands out?
Okay. Yeah, well, I can go big picture and kind of go through the whole thing, but I'll answer your question first. The one thing that absolutely helps are repair estimates, okay? The appraisal district, largely, I would say 99% of the time, they are not going to be able to provide a counter argument to any kind of evidence that you show them regarding the condition of your property. So if you bring photos or repair estimates in, and repair estimates are better, if you bring photos or repair estimates showing them that the condition of your property is causing the property to not be worth what they say it's worth, then they will almost 100% of the time just say, okay, I'll go ahead and reduce for you.
Okay, so if you, in other words, if your property is maybe not as in great a shape as the Central Appraisal District thinks, and you've gotten an estimate that says here's what it would take to bring it up to par, then that will help a lot. What if you've already had the work done though? That cuts against you, doesn't it?
That's a great question. If the work was done after January 1st, 2019, you're totally okay. Bring in the estimate showing that the work was done. Because here's what we're trying to do. The valuation process is to determine what the value was on January 1st, 2019. So if you had work done January 5th, then you say, look, the house was in poor condition January 1st, and here's proof this is the work I had done. If you had the work done prior to January 1st, you're out of luck.
Because that's actually going to show that your property is improved.
Yeah. You just gave them, evidence of why.
Let's raise it more. Yeah.
Like,
well, and so, maybe that's a lesson going forward too into next year. If you are considering having some work done around the house, maybe something with the pool, something with the, whatever. If it's something that can wait, maybe you push it until after January 1st so that, you've got reason to go in and go, hey, I've got this estimate. If it's something that's, maybe going to make a difference.
I would say, that's a good point. Yeah, just make sure and get your repair estimate so that you have documentation showing that.
Someone just asked here, Lauren, I think it was, asked, because these are moving so fast, why is my appraised value so much lower than the market value? This is something that gets a lot of people, it catches them. It's two totally different things.
By far, that's the number one question that we get. Okay, so the best way to explain this is to show you with my hands. Okay, because this is...
We like hand talkers here.
Well, and the reason is because the whole confusion, hand talkers, the whole confusion is caused because the property tax code, which is the real enemy, that's the bad guy. So the property tax code tells them they have to use the word appraised value, and they just chose the wrong word. Because common knowledge, what the word appraised is not the same definition that they use here. So let's just eliminate the word appraised. If you were to substitute that word for homestead capped value, then it would make a lot more sense. So here's the deal. Every single year, the appraisal district is only allowed to tax you on a maximum of a 10% gain per year if you have filed a homestead exemption. Okay?
And you should always file a homestead exemption. If you're new to Texas, file your homestead exemption, and it has a cutoff in the year, doesn't it?
Kind of, sort of.
Okay.
If you get your homestead exemption filed by April 30th, then you're going to see the difference reflected on the tax bill that you're going to get in October.
Right, okay.
If you file it after April 30th, it's still valid. You should still absolutely file no matter when it is, but it may not show up till the next year. And here's a big one. If you forgot to file and you should have filed last year, go ahead and file, and in Texas, they will rebate you what you would have saved 1 year retroactive.
Wow, that's nice. Okay, so, and again, we know that we've had so many people who have moved here from other states in recent years, and you may be getting sticker shock because a lot of states don't have property taxes as high as Texas does. If you're getting that sticker shock, if you have not already filled out the homestead exemption form, find that, fill it out, get it done. It basically puts a cap on how much they can appraise your property at, correct?
Yep. Can I give a link to the...
I know I'm saying it in layman's terms here.
You're right.
Yes, give a link, please.
So if you go on our website, I made a little tutorial video and a link to the actual form itself. So if you go to chandlercrouch.com/homestead, then I've got step-by-step tutorial on exactly how to fill that out. You should, and if you go to, if you're in Dallas County, well, every county has a different appraisal district. The way to find the website for that appraisal district is just to Google the county name and CAD.
CAD, which stands for Central Appraisal District.
There you go. And then you can look up on your property to see. Usually there's a section that says exemptions, and it'll say homestead right there. And if it doesn't say homestead in the exemption section, then fill that thing out and send it in.
Most of us think about, when we're thinking about property taxes, we think about the structure, our home that we live in, and we're not necessarily thinking as much about the land. And I've heard this a couple of times here recently, and Che just asked this question: can you protest the appraisal on the lot itself? Is that something that's doable, or is that you're probably not going to get very far?
Well, there are two different types of protests that people utilize commonly, and it's kind of like a 90% of people protest according to the market value. Okay, so it's the argument is you go in and you say, hey, I think that I wouldn't be able to sell my house for as much as what you're saying, and the condition would cause it to not sell for as much. That's the market value protest. There's also something called an unequal protest, and that is just basically saying, I don't care what the house will sell for, you're taxing my neighbor at a level a lot lower than you're taxing me on, and forget about what you can sell for. That's not fair.
Okay.
That's called an unequal protest. So in the unequal protest, if you look at the breakdown of improvement value and land value and you see the lot size is about the same as your neighbor,
Yeah.
that's the only time that number ever comes into play, is that you can say you're taxing them at a level lower than me.
I want to loop back
Other than that, it's irrelevant.
I want to loop back to a question that I have about that, but first we had someone who just asked, am I protesting my appraised value or the market value?
Okay.
It's a very clear distinction.
I did start answering that, but then I abandoned. And
we go off on a lot of tangents in these because there's so much to talk about.
And I'm probably the only person in Dallas-Fort Worth that gets excited when property taxes come up. I get excited.
You're
on
it, yeah.
Bunny Trail. Yeah. All right. So market value is what they think your house is actually worth. There will never be a cap on that. There shouldn't be a cap on that. It's supposed to reflect the accurate market value of the property.
And that's a good thing when that's going up.
Absolutely.
Because that means that you're building equity in your home. It's becoming more valuable. If you decided to sell, it might sell for more.
Until you have to pay taxes on that amount,
and
right?
then it becomes a terrible thing.
Right, exactly. So that's what the homestead exemption is for. It's saying, like, if your house went up in value 15%, let's say, so if let's say last year your house was, I'm not going to do math on, I'll do one math problem.
Okay,
but I'm going to cap it at that. All right, so if your house is $100,000,
yeah,
and your house went up to $115,000, but you have a homestead exemption filed, then what will happen is this is market value and this was appraised value. And remember, they chose the wrong word.
Right.
It should be homestead cap value. So what will happen is the value will go up, but this will cap out at $110,000. This will go up to $115,000. Okay. Now, if the value would have only gone up to $107,000, they would have both. It would be
together
equal
because they can go up 10%.
Right.
Essentially, in your appraised value each year.
Right. So as long as if the market value goes up more than 10%, this caps out at the 10% level, and then this another question we'll get a bunch of here is how can I protest this value? Well, you can't.
Right.
Because this is it's a math formula. It's not an opinion. This one is an opinion.
Right.
And so if you can get this one down, then if down below the appraised value, then they can both come down. That's the only way.
Well, here's a problem though, and it used to be, 5 years ago here in North Texas, you could see, you get these little flyers from realtors in the neighborhood telling you how much things are selling for and, what your house might be worth. People do that on Zillow. They do it, with different platforms. And you used to be able to see that your market value, it's growing, it's going like crazy, and your appraised value was still somewhere down here, more hand graphs.
Right.
But a lot of people have been complaining now that, man, that market value and the appraised value are starting to look a lot more alike. Like it has grown to the level where they're starting to get close, which is not a good thing when you start talking about the property tax end of it.
We should just call this Facebook Live hand graph.
Hand graph for an hour.
So what happens is if let's say your property did not go up in value at all, but maybe let's say you bought a foreclosure.
Yeah.
Okay. You bought it way below what you should have. Like you got a great deal, right? Well, then what's going to happen is they're going to come back and revalue that the next year. So market value is going to jump up. Well, that appraised value is going to get capped at 10%. Well, what if the house didn't go up in value at all anymore? Well, then what's going to happen the next year is this is still going to increase another 10%.
It's going to keep catching up.
Yeah, it's going to catch up until then, yeah.
That's why people are noticing that it's getting closer, those two things, and that was something that they had hoped would probably never happen.
Let me go on one slight variation of this question. If you've got this situation where your market value is significantly higher than appraised value and you protest and you win, and let's say you get that market value down significantly, but it doesn't get below this appraised value, this is a situation where you can actually win your protest and your tax bill still increase. It can be really confusing, but that's the reason why.
So let me ask you this. You were talking about if you go in and say to them, hey, this neighbor of mine, you're taxing them, or you're appraising them significantly lower than what you're appraising me. Can you do the opposite too, though? Can you go in and say, my God, I think you're basing this on some sales around me. Look at these homes versus my home. They're two very different things. I am not in the league with this, McMansion that went in next door, and yet I'm being taxed as though I am.
Absolutely. Yep. So the way to get your evidence on this is to kind of play unfair, okay? And I'm on board with that because the whole system is not fair to begin with, and what all we're doing is just leveling the playing field. So here's what you do. You can either, if your county provides an online portal, then you can usually go in there and access the comps or the data that they're going to use to substantiate your value,
Yeah.
right? And what it is that's all those properties in your neighborhood that they're saying are worth this.
So you get to see which ones they're comparing you to.
Yes.
And then you can go drive by and go, no, that is not what my house looks like.
Exactly. And this is where you get an advantage. The appraisal district is never going to go look at those other houses. So you can look at them, you can take pictures of them, you can say, hey, look, these other houses are worth way more than mine.
Right.
Therefore, mine should be a lot lower.
Ketty asked just a few minutes ago, and again, we'll repeat this as we go through because we know that people are joining us at different times. She asked again, what is the website to contact? This is Chandler Crouch. He's a realtor in Tarrant County. He is doing free appraisal protests in Tarrant County. As I told you earlier, we've got a guy in Dallas who is going to be doing these as well, and I just got a text back from him because I asked how do people do this. But can you give again the website for people who are interested in protesting in Tarrant County? And again, you're doing those for free there.
Yep, it's freetaxprotest.com.
freetaxprotest.com. Doesn't get any easier than that. Let me give you the one for Dallas County now. It is a realtor in Dallas County. His name is Ben Lauer, B-E-N. Last name is Lauer, L-A-U-E-R. He is asking that you email it. And in the subject line, just write tax dispute. He's going to get inundated with emails.
I feel bad for him already.
He needs a website. And his email is Benjamin, BenjaminLauer @gmail.com. I'm going to put that out on my Twitter and Facebook pages here in just a bit, and I'm at Jason Wheeler TV in both places. Again, write tax dispute in the subject line. His email is BenjaminL. Oh, there's an R in there. Let me give it again. BenjaminR. That's his middle initial, I guess. Lauer, Lauer. @gmail.com. I'm going to put that out a little bit later on. He's doing them in Dallas County.
Since we're on Facebook here, Ben, if you're watching, go to my website and then create a Google form and copy all the fields and all the answer choices in my on my website, and then text him again, and we'll give that out at the end. Hopefully, if you're watching, you can whip it together pretty quick.
I'm going to get in contact.
Save you. It's a lot harder.
Yeah, I'll get in contact with him as soon as we're done, too. I'm having people say, what about Collin County? How about Ellis County? How about Kaufman County, Ellis County, and I saw another one, Collin County. We are trying to find people in those places as well who are fighting valuations for free. So far, we don't know of people who are doing that. Although Chandler was just mentioning a little while ago, in case you're just now joining us, he was actually in Austin yesterday testifying before a committee there because there is a lawmaker out of Tarrant County who has filed a bill.
Matt Krause.
To create an entire, if you'd like to contact him and say you support it, whatever, or your legislator, he has filed a bill that basically would create sort of a network in coming years of people, realtors, et cetera, who are able to fight these property valuations for free. So kind of putting it out there for people so that it's sort of one-stop shop, like here's where I go.
You know what? Last year I got requests in 22 different counties.
Jeez.
For people that needed help, and so I that's the reason why I'm only doing Tarrant County this year, is because I thought I've got to draw the line somewhere. But I'll give you contact information for all the people. If you just know a realtor, probably the first step I would.
The person who sold you your home.
Absolutely, yeah. Go to the realtor you trust and ask them for comps.
Yeah.
And here's what you need to tell them. Write this down, okay? Tell them you need comps that are sold comps in your subdivision.
And comps basically just mean comparisons.
Yes.
Comparison houses.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, if you say the word comps to your realtor, they'll know what you're talking about. But
right.
Comparable sales. And so we're looking at properties that sold recently.
Okay.
Near your house that are similar to yours.
Okay.
That's it. And so in realtor language, it's you tell them you need sold comps from January 1st, 2018 to March 31st, 2019.
Okay.
That's not a search that they would normally run.
Okay.
That's what the appraisal district will consider. And so you'll be able to get a lot more data that way.
What is it that, is there something in particular that you find, like let's say when people lose this battle at the Central Appraisal District, is there something in particular that gets them usually? Is there something that you just go, there's no way we can argue that? If they've made improvements on the house maybe, or that sort of like significant improvements on the house, is that what gets them? Is it that it looks too new? What is it?
If you bought your house in 2018, they're not going to go below the purchase price.
Okay.
So that's one thing that's now.
There's no wiggle room there.
There's no wiggle room. However, if they are taxing you at a level higher than your purchase price, you can. It's almost a guarantee that you'll get it down to your purchase price if you bring them your settlement statement.
Okay, that's if you bought in 2018.
Right.
Okay.
For everybody else, really, the thing that's going to hinder you is just not having evidence that supports a lower value. Look, don't show them something that's going to justify a higher price.
Right. Don't show them the beautiful new floors that you just put in or the wonderful new roof.
Yeah. And here's the thing. This is like, there's a range of value. The reason why this protest process exists at all is because the value of your home is an opinion.
Yeah.
Really, all we're trying to do, or what the appraisal district is trying to do, when an appraiser does an appraisal, what they're trying to do, what Zillow's trying to do whenever they come up with a valuation, is they're all just trying to predict what a buyer would pay for your home. And it's a range. Nobody knows what a buyer would pay for your home. It's a range, and that's the reason why you're given this opportunity to protest, is because come tax time, most people's belief is that it wouldn't sell for as much because, first of all, you haven't fixed up your house to get it ready for the market.
Right.
Even if you put in the new floors, you probably need to spruce up your paint a little bit. You probably need to repair a few other things around the house. So you should definitely go all out to try and justify the lowest number you can, just because it's within your right. And who knows? Your argument is just as good as anybody else's. And if it's justifiable with facts, then you shouldn't pay any more on property tax than what is justified there.
Just scanning across here, I've seen a couple of people who say that they are realtors in Dallas and they will run comps for you. So look through the message thread here if you're in Dallas County or in the Dallas Central Appraisal District and you're looking for somebody who can run these comps just to tell you what things are selling for in your neighborhood. There are people in here who are doing that. I just had somebody ask, who do you call in Fort Worth? You don't call anybody. You can just go to the website. This is Chandler Crouch. He is a real estate agent there in Tarrant County, and he is doing these for free in Tarrant County. And again, the website.
It's freetaxprotest.com.
And I wanted to ask you this too, because I know that a lot of people, choose to go this route on their own, and they go down there and they fight this. And we've heard, that people have had some measure of success in doing that. You do have to have some patience. You do have to know what you're doing. You do have to do some reading before you head down there and get your forms all together. Don't take an old picture or old pictures of your house, though, because I actually went out with them a couple of years ago. The Central Appraisal District gets this van, and they go all around the entire county, and this van just pulls up to property after property and snaps several photos. Now, they're just seeing the front. But they snap several photos. So if you try to take them a photo from 1998, they're going to know because they're going to pull up the photo that they took, and just don't do that. Take them something that's more current than that. Don't try to get over on them because then you've just started off on the wrong foot. I have also heard, though, for people who are doing this on their own, that it pays to go to one of these informal hearings, these informal protests. Can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. If you go to file your protest, okay, first of all, filing the protest and completing the protest are two separate actions.
Right.
Okay, so the filing deadline is May 15th.
Yes, remember that date, yeah.
File your protest. And when you file, there are a couple different options. They're going to say, hey, what boxes should I check? Check the market value protest and the unequal.
Might as well protest it all.
Yeah, well, it just gives you options.
Right.
Okay. Now, then they'll send you a hearing date. That hearing date is for a formal tax protest. I highly suggest to go into their office at least 3 business days prior to that meeting and bring all the same material that you would normally take to protest. Because what's going to happen is you can go in and talk to them informally. Okay. When you talk to them informally and do an informal protest, you're going to be actually talking with a licensed appraiser, which is good and bad.
Right.
The good part is they are intelligent, they have training.
Yeah.
When you've done your homework, you've got evidence, you're going to make sense to them, and they're going to give you a reduction as long as you've done your homework, right? If you go to a formal, and here's the thing, if you don't like the result in the informal protest, you can still go to the formal.
Nice. So you might as well take that extra
Absolutely.
step. Yeah, because you might get relief there at the informal level and not even have to go through the rigmarole of the other. I've also heard that it does help you because these protests, the formal ones, are open. And it does help you to sit in and listen to what other people are saying and maybe see like, oh, I should mention that, or oh, that was a great technique, or oh, I definitely shouldn't do that.
Absolutely.
One thing you don't want to do
tip.
is go in emotional. Don't go in while you're angry. Don't go in right after you've gotten the appraisal,
You're going to leave emotional regardless.
Yes.
You're either going to be happy out of your mind
really up, or really
real
down.
mad.
Yeah.
You know what? I'll have to say, though, emotions are not going to hurt you as long as you've got your homework and
Just
your
don't
data.
yell.
Yeah, don't yell.
Maybe cry, but don't yell.
That's what I was going to say. Like, these people are human. If they
Right.
see that you're hurting, like, they're going to want to help you. But that alone, like, they're going to get sob stories all day, every day. But if they see that you have exhaustively done your homework, you've got
Right.
all the details, and you're desperate for a change, and you're giving them what they need to reduce, then that human appeal absolutely helps. I mean, they're human. So emotionally plea is okay. It's just doing that alone is just annoying.
So sob story, good.
Yeah.
Data to back up sob story, even better.
Essential, yes.
Yeah. Okay. How many of these do you do in a year?
Last year I did a little over 7,000,
lot.
and so over 10,000 total. This year it'll probably be somewhere around 14,000.
The central appraisal districts are very tight-lipped with us anyway because we always ask and we get the same answer. How many of them are successful? And they won't give you figures on that. Do you sense that the ones you see anyway, is it? I mean, people think, what is it, like a 10% success rate? Like, is it decent?
Absolutely.
Is it worth your time?
Absolutely. I would say the vast majority are successful.
Vast majority.
Vast
Okay.
majority. And I would go so far as to say that if you've done the homework and you've got some data to show them, then 95% success rate. I mean, they really.
Wow.
Here's the weird thing. Contrary to what people think, when you protest and reduce your taxable value, they don't get to skip out on any tax revenue. It's
true.
They're going to generate the same amount of tax revenue
You're right.
regardless. It actually benefits the appraisal district when people protest,
Right.
because they get audited every 5 years, and the audit is to see if they're valuing properties accurately. And so the more people that protest and have that checks and balances, in there, then the more it helps, the more accurate data they have. So it's kind of a paradox you would not expect.
That is interesting. I never thought of it that way.
They don't like the trouble of people protesting,
Right.
but it helps their data.
Well, you should know too here that we're dealing with a couple of, let's ask this, other exemptions that can help, like homestead, et cetera. So we have the homestead exemption that can help you. They're like showing me questions now because these are coming in so fast it's hard to keep up with all of them. So we have the homestead exemption that can definitely help you. There's also, of course, if you're older, veteran, that sort of thing that can help you. Can you talk about some of the things that can help you out here in case you're not taking advantage of these?
The two most common exemptions that I see are the over 65 exemption, which is it's phenomenal. If you are over 65, then if you've done a good job and you've honestly filled out your homestead exemption form, in a lot of cases they will automatically apply that. But if you're over 65, you should definitely check. You have to contact them to make sure that it's on your that it's on your property.
It'll really limit the growth in your appraisal if you're over 65.
It
freezes it.
Yeah, it freezes it. Yep.
Okay, so if you're over 65, if you know someone who's over 65, make sure that they're taking advantage of that because that is a huge thing, especially for people who are on a fixed income.
Yep. There's a VA disability exemption.
VA disability. So if you have a VA disability or know someone who does, make sure that they're taking advantage of this when it has to do with their valuations. Vicki says, should we still protest if over 65?
Yes, you should.
Even though it's frozen.
Yes, and I'm not up to date on all the taxing entities that are frozen, but the people that actually charge you and where your tax money goes, it's the cities, the school districts, the county, but then there are also these special districts like Parkland in Tarrant County is JPS,
right.
or there's like a water district,
right.
or there's public funding that goes to schools. Those the tax money that goes to those are not frozen most of the time.
Okay.
I should say there are several of those that aren't frozen. So if you should absolutely still protest, because your tax bill will still increase proportionate to your property value. It's just that the bulk of it will, for school, city, county, will freeze if you're over 65.
Okay,
It just
that
doesn't
makes
freeze
sense.
all of them. I know I didn't say that probably as clear as I need to, but
No, but it makes sense. Okay. So there are some limitations when you're over 65, or if you have a VA disability, you can get some help there. But that doesn't preclude you from still protesting.
no, not at all. You should absolutely still protest.
I was making the point before we got to that question that again, the Central Appraisal District, people think of it like, oh man, that place, it's like, this dark, bad place. But, when you think about this, the Central Appraisal District, they are the ones who tell you what they are valuing the home at. It's all of these other taxing entities that will come in after the fact, and they'll set their tax rates based upon what the appraisal district has said, okay?
Yes.
So, dovetailing off of your point where you said they're not averse to lowering your appraisal, because in a way that makes the Central Appraisal District kind of the good guy when they go, you know what, you're right, we're going to lower that down, and we're going to let the bad guy be the taxing entity over there who's still going to get their money and may have to raise rates to compensate for the fact that we've lowered some values.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of like I like to acknowledge both sides. Yes, you could kind of make them the good guy. It's like they'll slap you, but just not quite as hard, right?
I like that.
But no, you're right. So here, from a big picture perspective, I think this is really important for everybody to know, is that the math equation that they use to come up with your tax bill is your property value multiplied by the tax rate minus exemptions equals your tax bill.
Okay.
Okay, so there's several components of that,
right?
And the one that we can have some control over is that value portion.
Yeah, that's really, well, I mean, technically you could go to some of these budget meetings, which nobody does when they start talking about budgets and tax rates and all of that. We've heard even in Tarrant County, I believe it was a guy who was in charge for a lot of years who said, I think 2 people showed up to that meeting. So people aren't really showing up to those meetings where they're spending the money and deciding how much to raise, but people do show up in droves for the Central Appraisal District's protest valuations, because that seems like something maybe that you can have more success in fighting versus trying to get the city to come down on its budget.
Yep. And I think this is part of the problem, is that the tax system in general is just more complicated than what can be you in a short, like 2-minute YouTube video or something.
Right.
But
you do very good YouTube videos, by the way.
Oh, thanks. I try.
I'm a big fan.
Here's the other thing. If you want to protest on your own, like if you're in Tarrant County, I'll do it for you for free. But I don't care. I'm doing it for free, so I don't have any major desire to get your contact info so I can do your protest. I've got YouTube videos out there that teach you every step of the way to go through.
Where do people find you on YouTube?
Well, if you just search Chandler Crouch tax protest, you'll see it.
And it's Chandler, like the character from Friends, and then Crouch, like couch with an R in there.
Yeah, there you go. That's it.
And you'll be able to find him.
There's one video, it has yellow writing on the front, and it says how to protest your tax value. That's the updated video, and it's a step-by-step tutorial that tells you how to get all the data, how to do the research. If you're going to the informal process, exactly what you do, and the formal, what you do. Now, and maybe the first 2 minutes of it are Tarrant County specific, but the last several minutes are universally applicable to no matter where you're at.
And we love arming people with stuff like this, and maybe arming is the wrong word, because it's not like we're the enemy of the Central Appraisal District or these taxing entities. But to be fair, this is part of the legal process.
It's war for me.
Yeah, it's war for me.
War.
But it's part of the legal process. It's a legal process where you're supposed to have a voice in this process if you feel like you've been wronged as far as your valuation goes. And every time, and I got you to say your YouTube, where people can find you on YouTube. Every time we do this, I'm going to have you say the name of the website again. In Tarrant County, if you're looking for help, free help protesting your valuation.
It's freetaxprotest.com. freetaxprotest.com.
And again, I'm going to try to connect you with the guy in Dallas County who is doing this, and I want to give that out again because it's been a little while. He has it set up through email right now. We'll see if maybe you guys can get together and make it easier than that. But let me give you his name. His name is Benjamin R. Lauer. Okay, I just know him as Ben Lauer because we've done some things with him in the past. Here's his email. It's Benjamin, typical spelling, Benjamin, the initial R, Lauer, Lauer, @gmail.com. He is doing free valuation protests in Dallas County, in the Dallas Central Appraisal District, and in the subject line, you just write tax dispute. And again, I'm going to put that out on my social media platforms. I'm at Jason Wheeler TV and all of those places. As soon as I get off of doing this, I'm going to put that out there. One little question. Sarah asked on here a moment ago, she says she turns 65 in October of this year. She asks, when does the freeze basically on her property kick in a case like that on her valuation?
Great question. Now, first of all, I would say just make sure your homestead exemption is filed and make sure that the over 65 exemption is filed.
Sarah, make sure you check that box. Make sure you fill out that form.
Absolutely.
And again, where do people
and
find
put your real birth date on the form?
Yeah, put your real birth date. This is one time not to lie.
Right. Here in Luby's, you get the discount. But then here's the thing. Everything in the protesting valuation process hinges on January 1st. Okay. So if you turn 65 in the middle of the year, it's not going to come into play until you pass the next January 1st.
So she would not see that on next year's tax bill necessarily. It would be the one after?
It would be, so we're in 2019 now.
Yeah.
We're going to get a tax bill in October 2019. Right. Then January 1st, 2020 is when it would go into effect.
Okay.
So then October 2020 is when it would show up on our tax bill.
Okay, so I had that totally wrong. I'm terrible with math and figuring out my way spatially through a year like that. Christy says, make sure you know state tax laws. That sounds daunting and scary. Do you really need to be a total expert to do this on your own, or can most people figure it out if they look up Chandler Crouch on YouTube and do the YouTube sort of self-help video? And then also read your Central Appraisal District's website. It will take you through the process as to what you're going to need, when you got to do it by, what you have to know, what you have to prove, etc. They'll tell you on there, but it might be more entertaining to just watch this how-to video on YouTube.
Yeah, this is part of the problem is that the information isn't in a real digestible form.
Yeah, it's not in lay terms.
I agree with the spirit of her sentiment there. You need to know the process, but it's kind of like driving your car. You need to be an expert at how to operate the car, but you don't necessarily have to know how a combustion engine works in order to be able to get from A to B. So
right.
It's the same thing. You just need to know where to get your data, how to get it, where to go, but
maybe know a few terms of jargon. That does help you when you're speaking people's language.
Absolutely.
Someone says, boy, we're in trouble here with taxes in Texas. A lot has been said about that, and that's why I think that the legislature has really made this a big priority in this legislative session. I think that they're starting to realize that, beyond just the grumblings and the moanings of homeowners out there, this has an impact on business, on businesses wanting to relocate and bring their workers, and their workers go, oh my God, how much in taxes? It starts to have a trickle-down effect.
It does. There's some more high-level conversations that we could have here, and I know people probably want some more nuts and bolts stuff, but when the reason why we're in this mess to begin with is because we don't have a state income tax, right? And so then our property tax, our net worth increases at the same rate our tax bill increases. However, our income doesn't always increase at that same level.
Correct.
Now, here's the thing. Because of the tax environment that we have, companies move into Texas like crazy. It's a very pro-growth situation. But when you take our sales tax and our property tax and our lack of income tax, and you just come up with some kind of factor to say, okay, overall, how much are we paying in taxes? We're consistently in the best third in the country. And one stat.
So it's all relative.
It is relative. We could definitely be worse off. Last I saw, we were like number 6 total of best taxing environment.
It just doesn't feel that way when you get the valuation, and then later when you get the property tax amount, which a lot of people have seen just skyrocket in recent years. We've had a couple of people say, can you repeat Ben Lauer's information? And Che just did it for me. She put it correctly on there. And I'm, again, going to put that out on Facebook and Twitter here in just a moment under my handle, Jason Wheeler TV. But it's Benjaminla. Let me do that again. Benjaminla lauer@gmail.com. And what did he want in the subject line? It's tough to keep up with. You probably know it.
No, I don't.
Tax dispute.
But I'll have it
tax
next time.
dispute in the subject line there. And again, that's for the Dallas Central Appraisal District. If you're dealing with the Tarrant Appraisal District, and both of these are free, they're offering help for free. If you're dealing in Tarrant, it is?
It's freetaxprotest.com.
I think that we'll leave it. I'm hesitating to leave it there. Is there something else that you think we absolutely need to impart about property evaluations or appraisals before we go that just the regular average Joe or Jane should know?
Maybe I'll just go through a handful of bullet points. That'd be all right. Okay, so number one, absolutely protest.
Regardless.
Regardless. It doesn't hurt you. It doesn't hurt your resale value. I've got a video out there. I go into detail on how it can actually help your resale value. I know it's counterintuitive, but protest. And the more people in your neighborhood that protest, the better off everybody is.
So get a neighbor to do it too.
Absolutely. Spread the word.
And you're not hurting anybody by doing the protest. It's part of the process. And
you don't hurt anybody.
And if you're looking for comps in your neighborhood, because they're going to ask you for comparable sales in your neighborhood, if you're not going to one of these people who's helping you for free, you can always reach out to a realtor you know or trust, or even the realtor who sold you your home, because they want your repeat business someday. So it's great to have that relationship.
Yeah.
So ask them for some comps in your neighborhood because you are protesting your property appraisal.
Yep.
Continue.
Okay, so there's defensive and offensive attack. Okay, on the defensive side, this is where you can ask the appraisal district. A lot of times you can log into an online account on the appraisal district website and get the evidence that they're using to justify the higher amount. Okay? So that's the defensive side.
And so you're going to see the properties that they have chosen to compare you to.
Yep.
Okay.
So you get that information, and you can drive around and figure out why those properties don't actually compare to your house.
Okay.
If you can prove that one's got a swimming pool, or one's got rock on the front of it, or one's adjacent to a golf course or something that might be increasing the value significantly, and yours is not, then that's your defensive strategy. You say, hey, look, the evidence you're using is not valid.
And a note here, if you're, we don't want you to go into anybody's backyard to see if they've got a pool if you don't happen to know them. But Google Maps is really good for that. When you zoom down, in the satellite view, you can see if they've got a pool back there, and that thing updates pretty often. So it'll give you a little bit of insight.
Absolutely.
If they've got some expensive deck back there, or some great stonework, or a pool, or whatever it may be.
Yep. Great point. And the what's it called? Where you can walk down the street. What's it called? Street view.
Oh yeah.
So the satellite, you can do so much, and just take screenshots of that stuff.
And so that you can actually show them what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
So that you're not just standing outside their house, taking pictures, and they're like, "Why are you doing this in front of my house?"
Yep. No, so that's good on the defensive side. Now on the offensive side, do what you already mentioned. Contact your realtor. Tell them you want them to run a search to get sold properties that are similar to your house, nearby your house, that have sold recently, or actually that have sold from January 1st, 2018 to March 31st of 2019. Okay. So tell them you want those comparable sales. Get that data. That's one side of your offensive approach. The other side.
Before you get to the other side, can you use? I always get these flyers from a realtor saying, "Look what's sold in your neighborhood from this time to this time." Can you use that, or is that a little more squishy?
I think that the appraisal district would need to see that the source of the data is valid.
Okay.
I mean, it's better than nothing.
Is it?
But
maybe it's not a bad idea for me to contact, if I don't have a realtor person, a realtor that I know. Maybe it's not a bad idea for me to contact this realtor who clearly is trying to get my attention and constantly putting these flyers on my door, and just say, "Hey, you always put these on here. Can you just give me from this range to this range so I can appeal my appraisal?"
Yep. Yeah, I don't mind that strategy to contact the people that are putting out effort to get your business, give them a little allow them the opportunity to create a relationship with you.
But if they do the work for you, don't forget later on when you need to sell a home or buy a home or whatever, give them a little love too if they're helping you out.
If they've done a good job, yeah.
And so you were saying the other side of offense is what?
Is condition. You can argue based on condition, and there's kind of two components of this, which is you can get repair estimates, or you can take photos of different condition issues in your house.
Okay, so if you've got some problems, if you've got some cracks in the ceiling, if you've got a leaky something or another, they can't see that from outside when they drive by your property to appraise or to take a photo every couple of years. That's something they need to know about.
Yep. That's,
okay.
And you pick some great items to mention as specific examples. The thing is, a lot of times some appraisal districts will consider cosmetic issues, but most won't.
Okay.
I'm trying to change the law on that, by the way. But if you've got, if your carpet's messed up or your paint is dirty, then I wouldn't count on that to get you your discount.
You're looking at structural, foundational, maybe bad shingles on the roof.
Sure,
Be careful if you're getting up there to take photos,
Yep.
but if you know you've got some bad shingles on the roof, maybe use that, or some drainage problems outside even.
Yep.
Those kind of things can add up. A bad retaining wall.
Yep. Landscaping, roof companies, they will all give you estimates for free.
Okay, and again, you may have missed this earlier because we touched on it a lot earlier. Repair estimates are a great thing. Those will help you out a lot because it'll show that, look, somebody thinks that I need to have this much work done on my home and that therefore it shouldn't be valued so high. An invoice for a repair you've already paid for, if you paid for it last year, is not going to help you. It might go the other way because it'll show that your house is actually in great shape.
Right. Don't show them that you've been adding value to the house. That's not going to help.
It's going to go against you there. All right. I think Raymond says, who can I contact about questioning school taxes? That would be your ISD, and show up to those board meetings, and they will let you speak. And you can rest assured, if you get up to speak about the taxes, you're going to have a lot of ears perk up in the audience, and you'll have a lot of people with you because, school taxes are pretty much the highest, no matter where you are. And they've got a tremendous job to do as well. But there's accountability that should be had there, and that's where you handle that.
Absolutely.
Good luck with it, though. That's a tough battle to fight.
I just think that's great advice. Go to those budget meetings. That's really the cities and the counties, the people that establish those budgets, they are the ones that are causing the appraisal district and the tax assessor to have to go through this process to generate the tax revenue,
right? Which
the only way they generate the tax revenue is by sending you a bill.
Well, and here's the interesting thing. We did the numbers on this in Dallas the other day, and over the past 5 or 6 years, you have seen the tax rate in Dallas, the tax rate that's set by the city, go like this. It's actually been going down. So the city is able to say to you, we've been lowering your tax rate, yet if you live in Dallas that your taxes haven't been going down. Those have been going straight up. And indeed, when we look at property taxes taken in by the city of Dallas, that is a straight up like this. And all of that has to do with the valuation, the appraisal, the thing you just got in the mail, because valuations have just been going like this. So they multiply that lower tax rate by this higher valuation, and wham, we've still got high taxes. So, if you're going to hold anybody accountable, do it at all levels here. Show up to those budget meetings with the city or with the school district. Show up to the central appraisal district to deal with the appraisal as well. But hold everybody accountable because it is your money in the end.
Yep.
Chandler Crouch is his name. He is in Tarrant County. Don't flood him with appraisals that are from outside Tarrant County. We're working on that. We're trying to find some people in some of the more outlying counties. Again, you can find him on YouTube. He has a lot of great self-help videos if you're looking to protest your appraisal. And just look for Chandler, just like the Friends character, last name Crouch, like couch with an R, on YouTube, and maybe put in tax protesting. You'll see it all pop up. And again, the website, because you are doing free protests for appraisals in Tarrant County, website.
freetaxprotest.com.
And then one last time, I'll give it out. In Dallas County, we do know of a realtor named Ben Lauer who is also doing free tax protests. His full name is Benjamin R. Lauer, so he's asking that you email him. In the subject line, you write tax dispute, and his email is BenjaminR, I keep forgetting that R, Lauer, Lauer, @gmail.com. That's how you reach him in the Dallas Central Appraisal District. And we're still working on those other counties. A lot of people have asked about Collin County, Denton County, Kaufman County, Ellis County. If you are a realtor and you're doing this and you're willing to do it for free, hit me up. I'm at the initial J and then Wheeler at WFAA.com. Hit me up and we can put that information out. Chandler, thank you for spending a huge chunk of your afternoon when we know you're busy these days. And again, get those protests in by May 15th. That is the deadline, hard and fast. It used to be the end of May. Don't get fooled. Don't get complacent. It has moved down. It is May 15th. So get those in time. And of course, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.